Welcome viewers to our learning channel. This is now session 3 of the MS Excel for Beginner course, complete Excel course. In the previous session, which is available on the YouTube, and the link is given in the description, we discussed some functions and formulas, calculating monthly wages and per hour wage, etc., obtaining total, average, maximum, minimum, and some other functions that we discussed in our previous session. If you haven't watched that, so the link is given in the description. And the channel contains lots of video tutorial on Microsoft Excel, Access and PowerPoint. Now in this session, we are going to discuss some more advanced functions like aggregate function and round function and EOMONTH, EDATE function, the Workday function, 3D formulas. So in this session, we will be discussing all these functions. Let's start. So the first one is aggregate function. Now, for example, we have this type of data where we have account name and then the amount. And if there is one cell with an error, so if you use some function, so you will not get the result and it will give you an error. Now, if you have such type of data where there are some errors possible and those you can't do anything with those errors because these are some values which might be sometime with errors, so you can use aggregate function. In the aggregate function, when you use aggregate function, so here you can see inside the aggregate function you can use average, count, a, maximum, minimum, product, standard deviation, sum, and all these function you can use inside aggregate, and you will have some more option also. For example, I am using aggregate and using sum function. Here I need sum, so I will use digit 9. This is the sum function code. Okay. After that, when I add a comma, so I get these options. Ignore nested subtotal and aggregate function, ignore hidden rows, ignore error values, etc. etc. So if you just select this one, ignore error values. So it will ignore the error values 6 digit, and after that a comma, and now just range the data and close the bracket and okay. So here you can see you have got that. Now, there are some other options also. For example, if you use this third code, ignore hidden rows. If there are some hidden rows also, if data is filtered, so it would ignore those also. Error values, nested subtotal, aggregate function, and all this will be used. For example, this third one, so it will give us the same result, but here if I use subtotal also, so it will give me the correct answer. If I use this third one, so if there is a filter, for example, if I apply a filter to my data, now if I select only C and D, so you will see the aggregate total is changed now. It's only content that one, not the other one. So this aggregate function can be used for this. If you do not want that whenever I filter something, so it should not sum only the visible rows. So then here instead of 3, you can use only the error, the 6 code that ignore only error values, not the hidden rows. So you can choose different options. If you want to ignore hidden rows, subtotal, aggregate function, so you can use this one. Here you can see these, this one, this one. So there are different options with you. So this aggregate function is very useful in such cases. Now, for example, if you have a data like this, there are subtotals between the data and you want a sum. So now here, if you want a sum, a grand total, so if you use sum function, so you will have to select this one, and then this one and close. It will give you error. If you use the aggregate function, so here you can see now aggregate, after bracket I will use sum function 9 code, and here I will now use ignore hidden rows, error values, nested subtotal, and aggregate function, this third one. So I can use this, and now I will just range the whole data. I do not need to skip the subtotals. Another example is, for example, if you have a data, if you have used some subtotals with aggregate function like the same. So here below, if you want to do it with sum, so you will have to do it like this sum and then range this one, comma, this one, comma, and this one. So you will have to do it like this. If you want with aggregate, so you can do it very easily. Just say aggregate, select 9, and after that, I will use this one, the third one. Ignore hidden rows, error value, nested subtotal, and aggregate function. Ignore the aggregate function and subtotals. So I will use this third, and then I can range this whole column, no issue, and it will not calculate the subtotal cells. Here you can see if we use a sum function, so that would be this plus this and plus this one. So you can see both are the same. So you can use this aggregate function in this way. Next one is the round function. Round function is simple. For example, if you have a data and where you want to use a round function, how to use a round function. So round function can be used. For example, here when I multiply this amount with this rate, so I get this type of. So you can reduce these decimals from here also. But if you use the round function, that is the authentic way to use that. And you can use that for different purposes. For example, if you want to round it to 0 decimal or 2 decimal, or if you want to round it to the closest 10 or to the closest 100, so you can do all that. Simply you can do it with multiplication sign, but when you want to use round, so first you will have to type round, then bracket, then another bracket for the formula, this multiply by this, close the bracket. Now after the comma you need num digits, how many digits you want in the decimals. So if you want 0 digits, so say 0. Here you can see there is no decimal. Now if you want to use the same but use 2 decimal, so just change this 0 to 2. So here you will have 2 decimal. Now if you want to round it to the closest 10, so here you can minus 1. So you can see 20500. It is rounded to the 495.66 is rounded to that. If you want to round it to the closest 100, so you can use minus 2. So you can use this round function for these purposes. The next interesting one is EOMONTH and EDATE. These are very useful function to be used in Excel. Now EOMONTH is basically end of the month date. If you want to end up the month date from this date, so the simple function is EOMONTH, small bracket, start date is this one, how many months you want. So I just want to go end of the same month, so I will use 0. Here you can see the format is general, so I will change it to the short date. So you 31st January 2022. If you use here 1, so it will give you 28/5 to the end date of the next month. This is end date of the same month. Here if you use 0, so it would give you end of the same month. Now if you use here 1, so it would give you end of the second month, 22nd. This is 1st January 2022. So 28/5. So you can obtain in this way if you want the end date from this after 10 months. So use 10. So you will have to start from 0. 0 is the first month, the same month, then 1, 2, 3, 4. So if you want the 10th month, so you will use 9. So here you will see 31st October 2020. So in this way you can obtain end of the month date. If you use here 0, so that means end of the same month. If you use 1, so next month, 2, next month after next month, and this way you can obtain dates in this way. Now if you want to use EDATE, EDATE is simply if you want to obtain a specific date from this start date. So select the start date, and then if you want that a date after 10 months of this date, so use 10, close the bracket, so and change this to the date format. So you see 1st November 2022. Here you are obtaining end of the month. Here you are obtaining a date after this date, and you will have to mention the number of months, how many months gap you want. so you will have to give that. For example, if I use 0, so here you can see the same date is repeated here. If I use 1, so you can see this is 1st January 2022, this is 1st February 2000. I use 2, so you can see 1st March 2022, this is 1st January. If you want to jump from this date 14 months, so use 14 months. So here you can see 1st March 2023. If you want to go to the past, so that also you can do. Here, for example, if I used 1, so it would give me 1st Feb 2022. If I use -1, so it will take me back to the 1st December 2021. So if you want to go back in the past, then use a digit with minus. If you want to go ahead, so just use a digit without a minus. I want to go 10 months ahead of this date, so I will use 10. If I want to go 10 months before this date, so I will use -10. So here you can see 1st March 2021. If I use 12, so it will give me exactly the same date in the previous year. So you can use this EDATE and EOMONTH. Now, if you want that I need a specific date after specific months, but the date should be the end of the month, then you can use this function, or you can use both the function combined. So you can use end of month, just close this whole function in the end of month, and after here, when you use the comma, so use months. For example, I want to go 0 months. So here you can see now it gives me exactly the end of the date. When I use the EDATE function only, so what was that? 1st January 2021. Now when I used the EOMONTH and EDATE, so it gives me 31st January 2021. So it gives me both the end date and a specific jump according to the number of month that I have mentioned here. If I remove this minus and use only 12, so it would gives me 31st January 2023. So you can use EOMONTH, EDATE function and can use them combined also. Now the next one is the workday function. For example, you want a date from this date after 7 business days. You want that I need a date which is falling after 7 business day from this date. So for that you can use the workday function. This is workday. Here you will see two types, workday and workday.intl. This is the international version, so you can use this version now, because here you will have the weekend. There are different weekends, so you can use this intl. Click small bracket. Now it asks for start date. This is the start date. How many days you want, comma 7 days. Give me a date after 7 business days, and comma. Now here you can see different option of the weekends. So here we are using Saturday and Sunday, so I will select this, and then if I have the list of holidays also, so I can range that. For example, if I have typed holidays also here, so I can range that and lock this range, so that when you move down, so it should not disturb it. Close the bracket. Now here, for example, if I say that 1st April is a holiday, then there are 23rd March is holiday, so you can type those holidays also. Now here you can see I have a date for 11th January 2022. From 1st January 2022, 11th January 2022 is the date which is falling after 7 business days. Now if you count this minus this, so these are basically 10 days, and I have asked for 7 days. Why? Because here it has not calculated the holidays and the weekends. If you want this 14 business days, so just change this 7 to 14 and you will have that date. Another interesting feature is 3D formula. These are not basically formulas, but let me show you. For example, you have 4 sheets. 3D is simple. Is equal to sum, small bracket, go to the first sheet. And here you can use a different range, because if you think that there might be some more entries and different sheets have different number of rows, so you can use it like this. Just select this one, then press shift and click the last sheet and enter. So here you can see it has calculated A to D, sheet A to D, and then it has calculated D2 to D19. And every sheet it's calculating this D2 from D2 to D19 columns, and here it gives you the sum in this way. So this is basically a 3D function. Now the next important formulas are SUMIFS, COUNTIFs, AVERAGEIFs. So you can use this ifs function. For example, in our previous session number 2 for the beginner, we use these total, average, maximum, minimum. Now, if you want a specific sum if a specific condition is there. For example, if I want against different department a specific monthly wage sum, then count, and then average. So here we have these departments, so I can use these names A, B, and C and D. These are our department. For example, A, B, C, and D. So what will the SUMIF do? SUMIFs will do SUMIFs. Go to the column where you want to sum. This is the column that I want to sum. Small bracket. This is the range. Now comma. I want against department, so select the department column and then a comma. And now what will be the criteria? The criteria is this one. If it is like this, if it is like this, and close the bracket. So here you can see that only a department related monthly wage is this amount. Now if you use the count if, so it will do only count. For example, count ifs. Now what I want to count, the departments, select the department column, comma. What is the criteria? The criteria is this one. Close. You can see 4. It means that A is repeated 4 times here. A is repeated 4 times here. Now what will be the average if? Average if is average if small bracket. Average is basically from the amount that you want. So select that column, then against the department you want, select the department, comma, and now here select that specific department as a criteria and close. So here you can see that against the A department, the total sum is this, count is 4, and average is this one. If you use here B, so all these amounts are changed now. It's according to the B now. If you want to see against the C, so type C. So here you will see against the C. If you type D, so here you will see against the amount, the sum, the count, and the average against D. So you can use these SUMIFs, COUNTIFs, and AVERAGEIFs also in this way. I have detailed videos on SUMIFs and COUNTIFs and AVERAGEIFs. The link is given in the description. You can watch that. But here I just wanted to introduce it to the beginners also. VLOOKUP and trim. For example, you have in one sheet the name of the person, the department, and the daily wages. And here you have another database or something like that. Now here you want that from the main database, I want to bring this department and this per day wage here also. Now with simple VLOOKUP you can do that, but if there are spaces or any issue in the names or in the codes, so then it will be difficult for you to do it with VLOOKUP. So then you can use trim function also. For example, if I say that I want a department against this name, so VLOOKUP this is the lookup value, comma, table array, this is the table array. What you want? You want the column index, this one. Column index is this. I want department, so this one. This is column 1, this is column 2. So I will type 2 and then comma, and for the approximate match, exact match, we will use false exact match and close. So here you can see A. A is brought here. Similarly, you can copy this whole formula, paste it here, and here you can bring the per day wage also. This is the per day wage. So now just instead of this column 2, I will use column 3. Now if there is a space, for example, if there is a space, so here you can see now it shows NA because here is a space. If you don't know about that there is a space, etc., so you can use trim function. What does trim do? Trim basically is this function, trim small bracket, this is the text. Now here in this text, if you copy this and paste value this, so you won't see that space. Here you have the space, you can see this is the space, but in this one the space is trimmed. Now you can use, either you can trim all these names and then copy this field and paste it above here as values, or you can use trim function. How? Here we look up this C7, this one. You want to use trim for this one. So here you can use trim small bracket and close this range in the trim function so that it may trim everything. And enter. Now you can see you have that A department. Here also you can use this trim function for this range, that if there are spaces, so you should trim them. So you can see now if you have a space here, for example, if you have a space here, so then instead of trim using here, you will have to use this trim function here before this one, before this VLOOKUP. If you use that trim function, so here it will first trim this and then see among these values and then give you the response. So you can use VLOOKUP and trim for if there are such type of spaces issues in your data. I have already done detailed videos on VLOOKUP and trim. The detail is given in the description, but here I just want to share with you that this VLOOKUP and trim can be combined also. If you visit the channel, so the links are given in the description. You can find out 100 of tutorial related to Excel and other softwares. Dear viewers, we have started this YouTube channel. There are free of cost learning tutorial on if you want to learn Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Access, PowerPoint, MS Word, other learning tips. So we have detailed playlist and there are hundreds of tutorials on Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, how to design presentation, Microsoft Access, how to develop databases and manage data, online data collection, learning Google Form, KOBO, MS Forms. If you visit this channel, you can find lots of video tutorial. Kindly support us, visit the channel. For example, in MS Excel, you will find these sessions in a proper sequence. For example, in MS Excel playlist, we have this basic session and then session 2, 3, 4. So if you start learning these sessions, so from the start, you can go ahead and you will find in a sequence sessions on Microsoft Basics, data analysis, conditional formatting, pivot tables, use of if, concatenate formulas, dependent drop down list, validation, name managers, VLOOKUP, XLOOKUP function, F function, advanced use of COUNTIF in SUMIFS, how to find duplicates, tricks and tips related to Microsoft Excel, how to develop search boxes, searchable drop down list, aggregate functions, tracking performance of the projects or any other analysis of research that you have conducted, for example, school function and other such studies. There are sessions on how to develop beautiful charts, attractive charts, speedometers, dashboards in Microsoft Excel. Similarly, in PowerPoint also you will find how to design beautiful presentation in PowerPoint, how to do in MS Access also you will find all these sessions in proper sequence. The Access tutorials playlist, there are almost 8 sessions. In session 1 you will find the basics, how to create tables, queries, forms, and then you will go on with advanced options in Microsoft Access. Similarly, you will find tutorial on how to collect online data, Google Form, KOBO, MS Form. You will find also the use of MS Word, the mail merge functions. There are sessions on SPSS also, so you can learn SPSS if you need to do some analysis in SPSS. There is a series on project management also, how to conduct need assessment studies. Kindly support us, visit the channel, watch, learn and improve your productivity. Thank you so much.